The rain had stopped only minutes before Daniel stepped out of the car, wiping the fog off the inside of the windshield with the edge of his sleeve. It was one of those evenings when the sky looked bruised, dark purple clouds fading into gray, with the city lights struggling to break through. His daughter, Lily, slept in the back seat, curled against her Naut Panda pillow, her tiny breaths fogging the glass beside her. She had been exhausted after school, and Daniel didn't have the heart to wake her, even though she insisted on coming with him. He looked at the restaurant sign glowing in flickering neon, Ruby Lantern Cafe. It sounded fancy to him, much fancier than the places he usually went. Single dads didn't go on blind dates, he thought. Not ones who spent half their salary on rent and the other half on school lunches and asthma medicine. But his coworkers had been persistent for weeks, almost annoyingly so, until they finally convinced him. They said it would be fun, that he needed a break, that he needed to get back out there. He didn't know what out there meant, but he reluctantly said yes. He took a deep breath, still unaware of the cruel joke that had been planned behind his back. He adjusted Lily's blanket one more time and whispered, "I'll be back soon, sweetheart. I'm just a few steps away if you wake up." Then he gently closed the door, locking the car as quietly as he could, even though he knew she slept like a stone. Inside, the restaurant was warm, too warm, almost suffocating. The air smelled like cinnamon and grilled meat, and the soft music made him feel both out of place and at ease at the same time. He scanned the crowd, unsure what his date looked like except for what his coworkers had told him. "She's sweet," they had said. "She's perfect for you. You'll love her." And then they laughed, the kind of laugh that didn't reach their eyes. He should have seen it then. A server approached him with a smile that was too rehearsed. "Are you Daniel?" "Yes," he replied. "Right this way. Your date is waiting." He followed her through the maze of tables until she finally stopped near the back, where the lighting was dimmer and more private. There she was. She sat nervously with her hands clasped together on the table, her fingers fidgeting with the end of her sleeve. Her long dark hair fell over her shoulders, and her dress, light blue with small embroidered daisies, fit her loosely. She was obese, undeniably so, but there was a quiet gentleness in her eyes, a softness that made her feel out of place in this harsh, glittering restaurant where people judged silently with smirks and glances. She stood when she saw him, almost instinctively trying to make a good impression. "Hi, you must be Daniel." Her voice was delicate, unsure. Daniel smiled, extending his hand. "Yeah, and you're Sarah." Her handshake was timid, as if she feared he would recoil from her touch. Daniel didn't recoil. They sat down, and she avoided his gaze for a good minute before finally looking up. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. I said I'd be here," he replied, "and I always keep my word." Sarah's eyes widened slightly, as if she wasn't expecting kindness. She wasn't. She had spent her life receiving stares, whispers, jokes whispered behind menus. She knew this night wasn't going to be different. She had seen the way the hostess looked at her when she first arrived. A mixture of pity and discomfort. Daniel noticed her unease and tried to make her feel comfortable. "So, tell me something about you, anything. Start with your favorite color." "Turquoise," she said softly. "It reminds me of the ocean. I've never been, but I like to imagine it's peaceful." He chuckled. "Never been either. Maybe one day." For a moment, the world felt lighter, softer, but only for a moment. Across the restaurant, behind a tall potted plant, 4 men from Daniel's workplace huddled together with their phones out, snickering like teenagers. They nudged each other every few seconds, pointing at Daniel and Sarah. One of them had even propped his phone up on a glass, recording the whole thing. "There he is. Look at him trying not to laugh. Oh my God, she actually dressed up. This is going to be gold. Wait until we show the guys tomorrow." They were expecting Daniel to walk out, to laugh in Sarah's face, to be disgusted. They wanted a reaction, a cruel, humiliating one, because for reasons he couldn't understand, they always treated his life like a joke. Daniel didn't notice them yet. He was fully present, listening to Sarah talk about her love for baking, her dream of opening a small bakery one day, her struggles with confidence, the hurt that came from being judged before people even heard her speak. He felt something ache inside him, something paternal and protective. Her loneliness mirrored his own. At one point she paused and stared at her glass. I know I'm not what people expect on a blind date. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What does that even mean? She shrugged, embarrassed. I just mean, most men wouldn't want this. She motioned toward herself. I'm aware of how I look. Daniel leaned forward slightly. Sarah, I didn't come here because of how you look. I came here because I was told you're someone worth meeting. She blinked rapidly, swallowing hard. No one had ever phrased it like that before. Meanwhile, behind the plant, someone whispered too loudly, when is he gonna figure it out? This is priceless. That's when Daniel finally noticed them, the laughter, the pointing, the recording phones. His jaw tightened, his chest sank. He understood instantly, this date, his coworkers, this wasn't kindness, this wasn't a friendly setup, this was a joke, a cruel, disgusting joke made at Sarah's expense. And at his. He closed his eyes for a second, inhaling deeply through his nose. The weight of the moment fell heavy on him. Sarah noticed his sudden change of expression and followed his gaze. She saw them. Her face paled, her lips parted, her fingers shook. She whispered, "Oh, so that's what this is." Tears gathered in her eyes, tears of humiliation, of resignation, of the same pain she had carried for years. She had been mocked before. She recognized the signs, the laughter, the pointing. Daniel turned to her, his voice low and heavy. "Sarah, I had no idea, I swear." But she shook her head. "It's okay, it's fine, I should have known. Pretty girls get real dates. Fat girls get jokes." Daniel's chest tightened painfully. "No, don't say that. Don't you dare say that about yourself." She forced a trembling smile. "It's okay, really, you can go. You don't have to." Daniel stood. Sarah flinched, expecting him to leave. He didn't. Instead, he walked straight toward his coworkers, his footsteps echoing through the restaurant. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't make a scene, but there was something terrifying in the calmness of his anger. He stopped right in front of them. "Delete the videos." They exchanged smug glances. One of them smirked. "Relax, man. It's just a joke." "Delete the videos. Come on." Another chimed in. "Have a sense of humor. It's funny." Daniel leaned closer, his voice dropping to a cold whisper. "You think humiliating someone is funny. You think making a woman cry is entertainment. She's not even your girlfriend, dude. Why do you care so much?" Daniel stared at them, really stared, until they felt the weight of their own cruelty pressing into their skin. Then he said the words that silenced the entire table and eventually left the whole restaurant in quiet awe. "I care because my daughter is going to grow up in this world, and if she ever sits on a blind date one day, terrified someone will laugh at her body or her insecurities, I want to know that there are men out there who will treat her with respect, the way I'm going to treat Sarah tonight. The way you should have treated her." His coworkers blinked, dumbfounded. He continued louder this time, not yelling but letting every word slice through the thick air. "She is human, she is kind, she showed up tonight with hope, something you clearly don't understand, and you tried to destroy that, because you're small, pathetic, and I won't let you make her feel worthless." A server nearby froze mid-step, listening. A couple at the next table turned. Someone at the bar lowered their drink. His coworkers looked ashamed but didn't know how to respond. One finally muttered, "All right, fine," and deleted the video. The others followed reluctantly. Daniel waited until every phone was cleared. Then he said one final thing. "You owe her an apology." They swallowed their pride and nodded, whispering apologies they didn't deserve forgiveness for. But Daniel wasn't doing it for them. He was doing it for Sarah. He returned to the table, his expression softening the moment their eyes met. Sarah wiped her cheeks. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," he said gently, sitting back down. "I did." "Why?" He hesitated for a moment, then answered honestly, "Because you deserve someone who sees you, not your size, not your scars, you." Sarah looked down, her cheeks flushing. He smiled. "Besides, I thought we were in the middle of a conversation about oceans." A small laugh escaped her, shaky but real. "I guess we were. They continued talking, and this time Sarah's walls slowly dissolved. Daniel told her about Lily, about raising a 6-year-old alone, about the nights he felt like a failure and the mornings he tried again anyway. Sarah shared the story of how she used to love modeling as a child, how she stopped when the bullying got worse, how she still sometimes took pictures alone in her room, wishing someone would tell her she looked beautiful. Daniel didn't hesitate. "You are beautiful." She froze. He didn't take the words back. The date lasted 2 hours, then 3, then almost 4, until the restaurant began turning off lights. They walked outside together. The night air was crisp and cool, and the silence was comfortable. Daniel pointed to his car, where Lily was sleeping peacefully. "That's my whole world in there," he said. Sarah smiled softly. "She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one." Sarah hesitated, then whispered, "Thank you for tonight. No one has ever stood up for me like that." He shook his head. "You never should have needed anyone to stand up for you." They stood there for a moment, both unsure what to say next. Then Lily shifted in the car, waking up with a sleepy yawn. Daniel opened the door. "Lily, this is my friend Sarah." Lily blinked at her, then smiled instantly. "Hi, I like your dress. It has flowers." Sarah's eyes filled with warm tears at the simple sincerity of a child's words. "Thank you, sweetheart." Daniel watched them softly, knowing this night was nothing like what his coworkers expected. This wasn't humiliation, it was connection, humanity, kindness. When Sarah finally said goodbye, Daniel stopped her gently. "Can I see you again?" She looked shocked, then hopeful. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." The next day at work, Daniel's coworkers avoided him, embarrassed. The videos were gone, the laughter was gone, and something in Daniel had shifted. Something firm and unshakable. He no longer cared about fitting in. He cared about decency. He cared about the example he was setting for his daughter, and he cared about Sarah, because in a world full of cruelty, he chose kindness. And that choice left everyone who witnessed it in tears, and it was only the beginning of their story. 3 days had passed since the blind date, yet the memory of that night lived in Sarah's mind with a vividness she could neither ignore nor fully comprehend. The way Daniel stood up for her, the quiet conviction in his voice, the raw sincerity in his eyes, she replayed the moment endlessly, the way one replays a song they're afraid to forget. For years, she had trained herself not to expect kindness from strangers. Certainly not from men. She had learned to shrink herself, not physically. Her body refused to bend to society's expectations. But emotionally, spiritually, if she took up less space, she would get hurt less. That was what she believed. Daniel disrupted that belief in a single night. He had texted her the next morning, a simple message that made her smile uncontrollably. "Hope you got home safe. Lily says your dress is her favorite color. Dinner again sometime." She typed and erased her response 5 times before finally writing, "Yes, I'd like that." Now, on Friday evening, she stood in front of her mirror, trying to decide which of her dresses was too much and which was not enough. She settled on a soft maroon one that flowed around her like a warm embrace. Tonight, Daniel was picking her up. She checked her reflection. Hair brushed, makeup subtle, hands trembling slightly. She wasn't nervous about him. She was nervous about herself. She didn't want him to think she expected too much. A car horn sounded outside. She peeked through her curtains. Daniel stood beside his car, adjusting Lily's small pink backpack. It made Sarah smile involuntarily. He brought Lily everywhere, and the little girl adored him. Sarah stepped outside reluctantly, hugging her bag to her chest. Daniel's face lit up the second he saw her. "You look amazing," he said, and he meant every word. She blushed. "Thank you. You look really good." He glanced down at his shirt. "This, Lily picked it." She said, "I look less boring in blue." Lily popped her head out from the back seat, grinning. "Hi, Sarah. I brought stickers. That's the best news I've heard all week." Sarah laughed. They drove to the boardwalk near the lake. Daniel said it wasn't fancy, but it was cozy, quiet, and full of lights. The kind of place where you didn't have to pretend to be anything other than who you were. They bought grilled corn from a vendor, walked along the water, and talked as the world around them softened into a gentle glow. But as they walked, something weighed on Sarah's mind, a fear she tried to bury. "Daniel," she began slowly, "I've been meaning to ask. Why me?" He stopped walking. "What do you mean?" "You could be with anyone, someone pretty and thin, someone people wouldn't stare at when you're together, someone people wouldn't whisper about." Daniel didn't hesitate. "I just want to be with someone who feels real, someone who listens, someone who laughs with her whole heart, someone who doesn't pretend, someone who has been hurt but still finds the courage to show up." She swallowed hard. "That's a lot. It's you," he said simply. She didn't know how to respond to that. For a moment, she stared at the lake, trying to calm her beating heart. They returned to the boardwalk bench, where Lily played with her stickers. Daniel watched her affectionately. "I won't lie," he said. "Being a single dad is tough, and it scares people away. People like me." She confessed quietly, "I got scared too. I thought maybe you needed someone more experienced or more perfect." Daniel shook his head. "I need someone kind." She looked at him with eyes full of something fragile and hopeful. "I'm trying to be. You don't have to try. You already are." Their conversation was interrupted when Lily approached, holding up 2 butterfly stickers. "One for Daddy, one for Sarah," she said proudly. Daniel chuckled. "Well, we can't say no to that." Sarah accepted the sticker, her heart melting. Lily stuck hers on Daniel's shirt without hesitation. Then Lily turned to Sarah and added shyly, "Because you make Daddy smile." It was a simple sentence, an innocent observation, but to Sarah it felt like a blessing, a validation she didn't know she needed. Daniel cleared his throat quietly, a soft smile tugging at his lips. "Do you want to grab dessert?" he asked. "Sure," she said, feeling warm. They walked to a small dessert stand that sold fresh churros dusted with cinnamon. The moment they approached, the vendor, a middle-aged man, gave Daniel a friendly nod but looked at Sarah with that all too familiar mix of judgment and assumption. Daniel noticed immediately. "2 churros," he said firmly, his voice protective. The vendor smirked slightly. "Extra sugar too." Sarah shrank. The tone wasn't kind. It wasn't innocent. Daniel's expression hardened. "What does that mean?" The vendor raised both eyebrows defensively. Nothing, just asking." "No," Daniel replied, "it wasn't nothing. And it wasn't appropriate." The vendor rolled his eyes. "Relax, man. Don't tell me to relax when you just disrespected her," Daniel said calmly, sounding more dangerous than if he'd shouted. Sarah touched his arm gently. "It's okay." "No," he insisted, "it's not." Lily, sensing tension, held Sarah's hand. "Why is he mean?" Sarah knelt beside her. "Sometimes people misunderstand others, but it's okay. We're together, right?" Lily nodded. Daniel paid and walked away without another word to the vendor. They sat by the railing, the lake reflecting the string lights above. Sarah took a bite of her churro, savoring the sweetness. "You didn't have to defend me," she whispered. "Yes," he said immediately, "I did." "Why?" He exhaled softly. "Because every time someone tears you down, I see a piece of myself from the past." She looked at him curiously. He continued, "When my ex-wife left, she told me I wasn't enough, not ambitious enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough, just not enough. I lived with that voice for years." Sarah's heart tightened. "Daniel, and then I met you," he said, turning toward her with a gentle expression, "and suddenly I wasn't thinking about being enough. I just wanted to be honest, to be present, to be me. You make that easy." She felt her throat tighten. No one had ever told her she made life easier. She had always been told she made things harder. Lily tugged Daniel's sleeve, pointing to the water. "Look, fireflies." Daniel lifted her up, letting her reach for the glowing specks as they flickered over the lake. Sarah watched them, the 2 people who somehow made her heart feel full. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel said softly once he put Lily down again. "Anything." "Are you scared?" "Yes," she admitted instantly. "Terrified, me too," he said, "but maybe we don't have to be scared alone." She bit her lip, her eyes glistening. "I want this to work. I just don't want to be a burden." Daniel cupped her cheek gently, his thumb brushing against the warm skin beneath her eye. She froze at the tenderness of the gesture. "You're not a burden," he said. "You're someone worth fighting for." Her breath caught. He leaned closer, hesitated, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, but she didn't. Their lips met softly at first, a whisper of a kiss, then deeper with shared vulnerability. It wasn't desperate or rushed. It was gentle, honest, healing. Lily giggled behind them, clapping her hands. Daddy kissed Sarah. They broke apart, laughing with embarrassment and joy. On the drive back, Lily fell asleep again, clutching her sticker book. Daniel parked outside Sarah's apartment building and turned to her. "Tonight meant a lot to me," he said quietly. "It meant everything to me," she replied. He smiled, leaning his forehead against hers for a brief, tender moment. "Can I see you tomorrow?" he whispered. "Yes," she whispered back, smiling. When she stepped out of the car, Daniel watched her walk toward her building with a softness in his gaze that could melt stone. He didn't see her as a joke. He didn't see her as less. He saw her as the woman who brought light back into his life. And Sarah, standing under the glow of her porch light, finally allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was worthy of love too. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough.